just gonna be a little fly on the wall, basically.
You jump in whenever you need to, man. All right, let me make sure we are live. And then everybody else should be getting notified real quick.
Is it going live on Facebook, YouTube, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. I saved it to my 2M Burrito page, but then I saved it to my page. Now I can also share it to your Horrible Imaginings page as well.
Awesome. Oh, there we go. I found it.
Yeah, you can share that.
I want to share it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can share it through to your page, and then we'll be good to go. All right, give me 1 second, and we'll get going.
So, yeah.
All right. All right, and then it'll be official as soon as I hit this intro. Make sure you got your sound on, Kurt, so you can hear it, because now it's got your music around it, okay?
All right.
See, now it's official.
Official.
All right, what's up, everybody? We are back. It is your boy Lou Martinez, aka Big Chief Burrito, here with another episode of Fireside Chats with Big Chief Burrito. Because it is the coldest genre, I got my cold brew, and because the season is upon us of a horror festival during a pandemic, we have Miguel Rodriguez from Horrible Imaginings Film Festival, consistently rated in Film Freeway as one of the film festivals that is worth your money, as well as one of the most well-recognized horror film festivals in the entire planet. How you doing today, Miguel?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thanks for letting me talk very late at night about dark things in a terrible year.
And then I am joined today by the Andy Richter to my Conan, the musical messiah, who had that music that he created specifically for my intro, longtime collaborator, Mr. Enslaved by Vegetables. Is that what we're calling you today?
I just threw it up there, but you can call me Kurt.
You can call me Kurt. Miguel, 5 days to go before your online presentation of this festival. I've seen a couple of your videos. I've watched a bunch of trailers to some of these movies. They look incredible.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts? Just kind of 5 days leading up to it. Well, are you nervous, excited? Are you kind of still overwhelmed?
I'm always overwhelmed. You know, I do best in the middle of it. So I know that once things get going and I can just start talking to people and hanging out and watching movies and seeing what people's reactions are, that it'll be awesome. But yeah, right now I'm just like, I can't believe I have so little time before it, really takes off, and try to, market for more people to get passes and take part. And doing ridiculous things like karaoke marketing campaigns to try to get people to.
What's your karaoke marketing campaign? What's that going to?
Well, so that has come to an end, sadly. Although I'd be willing to bring it back for your people if they want. But so last weekend I had a 48-hour period where if people got a pass, then they could request a karaoke song, and so there is one video's up now. I've got about 11 more to sing. But it's more work than I thought it was going to be.
What kind of songs are they requesting?
I will reveal the first one, but
okay.
I'm letting the other ones be secret. I will say that people are very purposefully choosing hard songs, and the first one was "I Would Do Anything But Love, But I Won't Do That" by Meatloaf.
Okay, I can see you getting into that one though.
Oh man, yeah, but there's that whole female part at the end. Yeah. So I
can do the female part for you.
Well, I already did it. The video is online, and so it suddenly goes dual screen, and I sing to myself back and forth. So it's pretty.
There you go.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. But yeah, like I said, more work than I thought it would be.
What's your traditional go-to karaoke song?
That's a good one. I actually have quite a few. I will say, all right, so I've won a karaoke contest before, and that was for White Wedding, Billy Idol's White Wedding.
Okay,
cool.
That's not bad. That's a standard.
It works.
What about you, Kurt?
I think mine would have to be Bon Jovi, "Living on a Prayer."
Oh
really?
Yeah, that's.
Anybody who's ever
just stand there during an instrumental song, and that's all I would need to do.
Bob your head.
Yeah.
Make it a karaoke art piece.
Yeah.
The last thing I got to sing in public before the pandemic was oh god, now I can't. Oh, it was "Losing My Religion."
Okay,
that's cool,
and that worked out all right. That was good. I would do that one again.
Favorites.
Yeah.
Everybody. REM. Every time I want to do some REM at karaoke, they never have the songs because I always like obscure tracks off of like. Are you
going to their first album?
No, just
their third is my favorite.
I'm looking for like "Ebow the Letter" or "What's the Frequency, Kenneth" or something like that off of like their middle albums. That was kind of where I got into it. I think the last thing I sang at karaoke was probably something by the Violent Femmes because that's my go-to. But
that's good.
What is the obviously I know there's a crap ton of differences between putting on a festival live versus but I did hear from one of the videos that you put out that you would think that it wouldn't be as expensive, but it's actually the opposite.
Well, so yes, it's potentially the opposite. So what happens when there are a lot of things that actually bum me out, and one of the things that has to do with money is that because we want to protect films, I'll only go with a platform that has DRM encryption for upload, right? So it prevents pirating. So we went with a platform called Eventive. And I should say, like, all these platforms are just very expensive for DRM encryption. Eventive uses the same security company that like Disney Plus does and Netflix does and iTunes does. It's a very strong security company. So I mean, I know that for the platform, they must be charging an arm and a leg for them too. But so it would be really nice to just have a flat fee, right? And there's a big flat fee, and then there's a fee to ingest via DRM upload all the films for each feature and then for each short film. And we've got a lot, so it adds up. Not as many as some of the bigger fests, but more than we usually have this year, actually. Anyway, so what really makes it hard is in the in-person festival, I can budget and be confident, right? Like everything's pretty much, I know what I'm going to pay for. I know what it's going to cost. With this, it's more unpredictable because every time a person clicks play, we get charged, right? So it's really hard to tell if someone gets an all access pass. Will they watch everything? Will they not watch everything? A lot of people will. I'm sure some people might not get to everything. And what sucks for me is I want people to watch everything, but from a purely bottom line, like financial perspective, it saves me money if they don't watch everything. And I hate having there be like a positive to people not watching everything. That bums me out. I hate everything about that. So there's that. It also charges us if it doesn't matter who presses play, it charges us. So that comes to the hardest part, which is press, filmmakers, the people who normally have free access to our event. And we're taking a hit. I'm giving each film 2 all access passes. A lot of these virtual fests are not, and I don't blame them. I'm probably an idiot for doing it because it's going to cost me like $6,000, if everybody who takes their free pass goes. And again, I hope they do. Like, that's the shitty thing, is I want them to participate in everything. Yeah. But if they do, it's going to be twice as much as the theater, literally twice as much as renting the theater would cost. So yeah, it is not cheaper to go virtual for festivals.
And it's per click, not necessarily the duration that they play the movie for, right?
So yeah, I mean, it is. They just have to hit play. We get charged, right? And that's the thing. Like, it's hard to tell at the beginning. There's a psychological, every I guess Web 2.0, like Amazon, they make money off of the psychological like feeling that you're not spending a lot with microtransactions, right? So we only get charged $1 per click. That just adds up. And when you get told at the beginning, when you're looking for what platform you're going to go with, oh yeah, 99 cents or whatever, $1 per click. That doesn't sound like a lot. And then you get nailed with it at the end. You're like, oh shit, that actually was a lot. So yeah, it's hard, but I do want to clarify. So a person can unlock, like, let's say we have a film called Darkness in Tenement 45. If I bought a ticket for that and I unlock it, I could watch it like 50 times. I'll only be charged once. So we get charged for the unlock, if that makes sense. We won't get charged every time they watch it, but I don't think anybody's going to watch things more than once anyway. But yeah, you're right. Like, they could only watch half of it and we'll still get charged.
Well, I don't know, because I watched some of the trailers for some of these short movies like Mateo and a couple of the other ones.
Mateo is a masterpiece.
And I kept watching those trailers over and over, and I was like, yeah, if it's a 3-minute movie, I might watch it 8 or 9 times.
Well, that's cool. You unlock it once and we're solid. You know what I mean? So you can watch it as many times as you want. We have a couple of 1-minute micro shorts actually that I really like. Yeah.
So you have a 15-second horror thing there as well.
Okay, so there's this great group out of Australia. And this is actually good for any of your filmmaker films to know about because they take submissions. It's called the 50-second horror film challenge. And every year, I think around October, they start taking submissions. They want a 50-second horror film, like from beginning to end. And those films get, selected and picked and judged by panels of celebrity judges, having people like Barbara Crampton and Greta Gerwig and all these folks. So what we're showing is the top 20 of the last edition. And 15 seconds adds up to about 7 minutes. It's awesome. It's a lot of fun.
You get a lot of movies done in 7 minutes. That's like a MacGruber episode.
Yeah.
All right, let me welcome a couple of people that have commented so far here. Hero Team Ken on YouTube says, what's up? Also, Jamie Meshberger says, yes, burrito. Thank you for watching. And MAVP Media says, first heard of Earthworm at HI, and it was amazing, short form, simple, and effective.
Oh, that's Earworm.
Earworm.
Tara Price. All right. So yeah, that's really, that's awesome. That who brought that up? Who was the commenter?
MAVP Media.
I want to give them a shout out because I don't know if they did this on purpose. So we showed that film Earworm a few years back. The director has another short film this year.
Okay.
So I don't know if they noticed that, but Tara Price, who made Earworm, made a film called Tea Time, and we're showing that this year. It's really hilarious. So highly recommend Tea Time. It's in the block called Twisted Innocence.
Ooh, I like that. What about obviously I'm a sucker for anything from the Colombian horror genre, but Loose.
So Loose, the Flower of Evil.
That one is like my can't miss. That's my can't miss right there.
So I will say this right off the bat, right? So one of the other reasons we went with Eventive, this was something that was other than the DRM, right? The safety. This was number one of what I was looking for. Is I wanted people to be able to watch these things on their television easily, right? Not tied to like an iPad or a computer. So I needed something with I wanted something with an app, like for Roku or Apple TV. And Eventive has an app on both of those platforms. I don't know if you have Roku or Apple TV, but Loose, the Colombian feature film that will only be available for a 24-hour period, by the way, on Friday, September 4th. So make sure y'all got that date down. It's if you can see this on, a big screen, it is just gorgeous. Like, it's one of the most beautiful films in its master. Did you see the trailer for that one?
Yeah, no, I watched the trailer probably like 5 times over and over. Just that first shot of the horse going over the mountain.
Oh yeah, I promise you, Luis, you've never seen anything like it. It's such an amazing, and for Latino horror, I've always tried to push the Latino horror. It's everything you want in a Latino horror film. And in fact, like, I think when we were as a programming team, we talked about this one a lot, because there were a couple of people who were like, well, I want to be careful because I don't want to give anything away. But there were definitely some things that, like, if you're coming at it from a Latino perspective, you get it right away. You know what I mean? And for someone who is not familiar with some of the stories we're told as kids, for example, it might be a little more esoteric or a little over their heads. And also, like, Latino, one of the things I love about Latino horror and Latinos is we're kind of contradictory about what we believe, right? Like, there's we have a very kind of deep belief system, whether it's religion or Catholicism or Santeria or Brujeria or whatever, right? And we both love it and are attracted to it and are afraid of it. And sometimes, like, that conflict shows up in the films. So if there's a film about Satan, it's like, is Satan really the evil force, or is it this? It's never cut and dried. It's never black and white, and that really is a big part of this film. And this film is one that, it's like David Lynch, right? You're gonna need. This is one, actually, like, I suggest people watch it early to give yourself a chance to watch it again.
You're gonna want to watch it twice within the 24 hours.
You might want to watch it twice.
Miguel, you had me at Colombian horror, as you know, that's where I'm from. So immediately,
we got another one.
Yeah, no, I was looking. I saw there was a couple, and that brings me to something that I kind of wanted to delve into real quick, which is something that I talked to with Fernando Fisher, who's also one of the directors that's in the festival, Perturbado. We'll talk about that in a second. But you of all people have seen a ton of films, and if I had to say, like, where there's a lot of, like, real deep sort of consistent horror genre is Mexico, Colombia, and Brazil. And I think that, not that there's not films coming out of Peru, Chile, Argentina, stuff like that, Uruguay, everything.
Getting up there, by the way. They're catching up. Yeah.
But do you think that this is just because of the fact that people in these countries love cinema and love horror as a genre, or do you think that there's also an element to it where if you're in Colombia, Bogota, Medellin, if you're in Mexico, you're seeing a lot of like real life horror around you. Sometimes things that are worse than things that you see on screen, and kind of the development of that genre as a contradiction or like a counter to what's going on around them.
So that's a really complex question. I do think that, I don't know if I'm going to say that as a whole the culture is more attracted to horrific things in their art, but they're more comfortable with it, right?
Right.
I think whether you're in Latin,
I mean, more like therapeutic, like, you know, there's all this horrible stuffing around it, so let's just sort of steer into the curve and just tell this other alternate fantasy world and just kind of come up with these really, you know, things to sort of counterbalance that, is kind of where I was going with it.
As many people as I know who love it, there are people who are like, oh no, Diablo, you know, you're like, it's diabolic. So it's all over the place. But I do think that, you know what, here, let's back up, right? So let's focus on Mexico, because that'll be easier.
Okay.
Mexico has a very interesting film history, and it goes back really far. And if you go to the golden age of Mexican film industry, there were a lot of horror films. It was very big, you know. There was a lot, very influenced by like European Gothic stuff, vampiro stuff, and that's not including, you know, the Enmascaderos or the Lucha Libres or anything like that. Like there's the Llorona and Momias and all of these films that were very big from the 30s all the way through to the 60s. And the thing about the Mexican film industry is it was largely funded by the government for a long time. And at some point, that money got pulled, right? So the well dried up. And in the 80s, you did see this resurgence of the Mexican film industry for the home video market. And there was just this boom of Mexican exploitation stuff. And so a lot of the stuff you would see, you know, besides like some of the norteño stuff and the crime stuff, you'd see lots of like Mad Max ripoffs and slasher ripoffs and monster movies and stuff like that. So it always came around again and again. And it's really hard to say if it was specifically because it was a therapy. But I think whether that's on purpose or not, it's always kind of there, you know. Like I think the producers just want to make money, you know, and horror can be a moneymaker and it can be cheap. but the people who write it and direct it, you know, I feel like they want to tell things, especially the good stuff. They want to tell something that has affected them, that scared them when they were kids, or that bothered them when they were about something that they experienced when they were growing up. So yeah, I mean, honestly, I just think that Latinos are more comfortable with dark images. Like even, you know, look at the difference between a crucifix in like a Southern Baptist American home and in a Mexican home, right? It's a very different icon. Here, it's mostly a simple silver cross. In Mexico, it's got like an emaciated naked man and gore and blood, and you know, it's very much like the passion of the Christ. And I think that's, you know, that's one. It's indicative of the comfort of Latinos with pain and suffering and wanting to express that.
Can we call them, instead of spaghetti westerns, burrito slashers? Can we start that? Can we start that genre?
I think you can, but I don't think I can.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it depends who says it.
I like that one. Hey, burrito slashers, new genre.
Yeah.
Let's get it going. Uh,
You know,
go ahead.
Latino stuff is much more supernatural too. Like,
Yeah, there's a lot of just. That's why
yeah.
I was kind of thinking it's like you see a lot of American, like
Mm.
torture porn, murder porn, kind of that sort of thing. The Latino film is sort of, it goes completely away from the real into the supernatural a lot easily. Like even some of the films that you had curated for San Diego Latino Film Festival a couple of years ago, where it was like it was horror mixed with like spaceships and like and you know what I mean, and like supernatural like
You're talking
radios.
about 1974.
Yeah, 1974. That
Oh,
movie is one of my favorites horrors that
yeah.
I've seen. Yeah, but it that's kind of where I'm thinking about, because it's not like they don't want to deal with like chopping people's heads off and stuff like that, stuff they can see on the news or next door. They go into like the supernatural, the history, the things that we were told when we were little kids and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a thing that is talked about a lot in American horror in the last couple of years called folk horror. You see that written about as if it's this new kind of burgeoning thing.
No, that's been around forever.
Yeah, and I think especially in Latino, we excel in folk horror. We had a short film that we did for Campfire Tales that I got to show you. That's a great Mexican folk horror film about it's from the Yucatan, and it's about a folk monster from that area. One that you don't hear about very much, called White Chavo. Have you heard of White Chavo?
No, not a fan.
Because it's a monster very focused specifically to the Yucatan, right? There's a lot that we don't hear about because Mexico is so big, and
I've probably heard about like the Colombian equivalent,
Yes, exactly, right. So,
right.
The folk horror is very big, and the folk horror, I think. Well, you talked about what the stories we heard when we were kids, but when you were told stories, you were told them as if they were real, weren't you? For me, I was told as if they were real. I was told not to go out into the woods. I got the Llorona story all the time, right? But and I was told as if that was real. But I was told, like, if I'm out in the woods after dark, Satan's gonna kidnap me. And with complete, like, it was with complete not irony.
There's no, the devil will get you.
Yeah, so it's hard to tell if they tell those types of supernatural or folk horror stories because they're trying to get away from reality. I think that it's hard to tell what is reality and what is not reality. You know what I mean? So it's still scary.
One of the other things that I noticed in kind of browsing the festivals, the pictures, watching trailers, etc., is how the electronic press kits and posters have improved so much over the last, I would say, like 4 or 5 years. To the point, like when I was getting into festival a few years ago, I was like, hey, if you happen to have any pictures or a poster and stuff like that. Now it feels like, from looking at the movies that made your festival, that it's sort of an ante to get into the game almost, because the level of professionalism on the posters and the trailers was outstanding.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that there's a lot that's improved in the last few years. So, especially, I've done work with festivals for a long time. So it actually kind of did this rise and dip from the 90s to the early aughts, the early 2000s, where around like 2006 to 2012, maybe, where digital equipment got a lot cheaper and the ability to make films became way more democratized, even more than it was in the 90s, where more people were picking this up. And I think there was, if you look at the landscape overall, I think the quality at that time wasn't up to where it is now, because now we've got people who started in that earlier period and have just improve. They've improved. I really think that a lot of it is they've improved, and also they're seeing each other's work. I think this is where film festivals can help. Actually, is when you see I know that that's after the poster and all that, but when you see your work up against something else, then and if the other thing is a lot better or a lot more, or the production's more polished, then that's gonna either it'll make you want to quit, or it'll kind of galvanize you to do better. It'll inspire you to oh, you know what, I can do that. I really should have done this or that, and I could do a lot better. I think we're seeing the number of festivals is definitely rising, and the number of films coming out, unfortunately, actually, is also rising. And the reason I say unfortunately is it's hard to keep up, and it's easy to get lost in the noise because there is so much. But there is this technical capability that's rising to the top, and you're right. Even in the 11 years now that I've been doing this, the quality of not only those assets, the trailers and the posters and such, has gone up, but the films themselves, have gotten better as well. They've gotten better.
Not only does everybody have a friend with a red, but they also have a friend that's good at Photoshop that can make a poster for them, and that can sort of help them with their electronic press kit, which is a must. In terms of the amount of films and festivals, I think the last time we talked to you and we talked about sort of where you should spend your money as a filmmaker and sort of finding niche festivals for your film. One of the things that I've always sort of been an advocate is really do your research on the festivals that you're submitting to. And I used to sort of say that if you found a festival that was an online only festival, that it would seem like before this, it was sort of a money grab, because it was it's just an online festival, and it's save your money there. But during this pandemic, basically, San Diego Latino had to cancel. Now they're gonna go back to online.
We canceled the very day that Gavin Easton closed down California.
Yeah, it was
the first day of the festival.
That was supposed to be the same day. It was we just changed it to you can't have gatherings of more than 200 people or something.
Oh, it sucks. No, that day it was 50 people.
Oh, 50 people.
It went from 200 to 50. And when it was 200, we were Ethan was what are we going to do? Are we going to rope off rows of seats or blah, 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 blah? Ethan was he was going to try
troubleshooting it.
Yeah. But when it went to 50, that was it. It was literally that morning. March 12th. Yeah.
I'm still kicking myself in the butt that I did not go downtown San Diego when they shut everything down that first couple of nights, just to shoot everything, and just how desolate, how deserted it would be. That would be some great footage, I think. And I just missed out. I was just I didn't do it. I was lazy.
I will tell you that a lot of people have done things like that.
Yeah.
I've seen it start to trickle in.
Mm-hmm.
How
many directly pandemic related films did you get submitted this year?
So, our submission date, our deadline was May. So there wasn't a lot of time for people to bust their ass to get one in on time. However, we do have a couple.
Okay.
I will say we have one that comes up right to my head, which is called oh my God, Soul Contact. And the director of it, his name is Justin McConnell. He actually has a great documentary called Clipboard Jungle that's playing Fantasia right now about indie filmmaking. But he did a pandemic living by himself, did everything by himself, including the music, called Soul Contact. And it's super funny. And it's great because it's taken during the pandemic with that isolation, but it's not about the pandemic. You know what I mean? So that I like that.
It's actually a great name too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
when you see it, it'll make you laugh. It's funny. It's really funny.
Well, Kurt's got a lot of disposable income, so he's going to be buying the full festival pass right after we get
Yeah,
out.
right.
Yeah,
So
you can get them as You can get them for friends, right? So
yeah, there you go, Kurt. There you go. Contribute, man.
check out. It
What
says
else am I
give
gonna
as a
spend my
gift.
money on when you don't have wife or kids? You know.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all disposable.
But just kind of to circle back to what I was saying about basically the difference between the festivals you should spend your money on. But that's a lot of festivals had to make that transition. So now it's even tougher to distinguish a legitimate festival like yours that had to make the decision to go online versus and I call them money grabs because it seems like because I've seen festivals where like we're gonna give you the laurels and we're gonna have a little party at a bar on a 22-inch screen, but people are gonna be talking but you're gonna get the laurels.
Sounds like you're talking from experience there, Louis.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that sucks. So doing the research is hard, especially when there's like because I always say that, but I can tell how frustrating that is for a filmmaker to hear because I'm a filmmaker. There's like 6,000 film festivals. Like, how much time can I spend doing this research? Going to all of these, trying to figure out each individual festival's website and Film Freeway page and everything. Yeah, it's a pain, right? So the other kind of bummer about the online thing, following your thread, is another way to really get to know the festival circuit is to get accepted, which is one thing. So obviously you do need that foot in the door a little bit first, but to go, right? Not just to stay at home, is to go and network and meet people and talk to festivals, or not just talk to the festivals, talk to the filmmakers and ask them, ask the film. That's sometimes the best way to know where to submit to. And I'll tell you, like, a lot of times, in the cover letters that filmmakers will sometimes write, they'll say, hey, this person recommended your festival and this person recommended I submit. And I have to admit, I don't read the cover letters until after I see the film because that statement is a little biasing, right? That immediately puts me in their corner a little bit, and I have to be careful. I really want to.
You're one of the worst that just and by worst I mean one of the best. That'd be like, okay, here's a waiver for you. You get a waiver, and you get a waiver, and you get a waiver.
I've gotten better at that, but yeah, because I mean, I've got a daughter to feed now. But
yeah, no.
And this is not a money-making venture. I mean, that's why when you hear people say, "Oh, festivals are just a scam," my first thought is like, aren't scams supposed to make money? Yeah. But I do think that some of the things you're talking about, there are definitely scams out there to some degree. I don't know how prolific they are or how many there are. I do know that I have reported a couple on Film Freeway that didn't even have a location. And one of them, if I recall correctly, listed an address, and the address was like in the middle of the woods. So I've reported and said, hey, this looks a little fishy, or it's an online only, or it's an awards festival, right? So it's hard to tell, like, some of those might be kind of scammy, especially, they're not paying for a screening or to four-wall.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, one of the things a festival offers a filmmaker is to four-wall their film for them. And I have heard filmmakers, who are not, they might be new to the game, new to the industry, right? Say, well, I'll just show it myself. I was like, you're mad because you paid a $15 submission fee, but you're going to go and rent a theater for $3,000. Okay. That makes perfect sense.
Hey, we did it.
What's that?
We did it. Night of 1,000 Burritos. You were there.
I remember that. Yeah, but that wasn't four-walling just for yourself, though.
No, that was for.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. But I'm just but you're saying, but four-walling's not easy, right?
No, it's not. It's not. It's expensive.
It's a pain in the ass, and the marketing, like everything about it, sucks. Like, did you see My Name is Dolomite?
Yes.
Oh man, I love that documentary. But there's that scene where Rudy Ray Moore finally finds a theater. He's able to go to the place and he talks to the theater owner, and the theater says something like $500. And Rudy Ray Moore says, "Okay, when do I get paid?" He's like, "No, you pay me $500, and then you can, split some of the box office." I was like, "Yes, exactly. Thank you for making this well known."
my main tips for filmmakers has always been when they're trying to choose a festival, make sure that it's a festival that's been around for several years. Look for reviews. Also, make sure that it doesn't say monthly. Right. Make sure that it's a live screening and not just kind of like a backdrop with, make sure that it's not jumping off of another festival. Like it'll be the Cannes iPhone festival or something like that. And then,
so many of those. Yeah.
And then what was the other thing is that, if there's like a gold or a silver submission level, that's also a big thing. He's like, hey, you got submitted for the silver award because you paid X amount of dollars, and now you're going to get listed against. So there's an entire industry based on making money off of filmmakers. That's based on a much more legitimate enterprise, which people like you do mostly out of love, with very little consideration about their bottom line.
Well, I mean, it's frustrating too, because it's like you're preying on people who already don't have a lot of money, and you're also preying on people who are kind of emotionally vulnerable because they're trying to get this like statement out into the world, and that's not easy. I mean, as a filmmaker, like, sure, you make the film, but just the notion of getting it seen by an audience, just that by itself is nerve-wracking and scary. And you don't need the added pain of getting duped by some scam festival and losing what little money you have, especially if you were smart enough to have a festival submission budget.
But there's nothing more exciting, and this is more from a comedic standpoint, but I can absolutely guess it's the same for horror films, than seeing somebody react the right way in a crowded theater to something that you wrote. That they either the joke lands correct, or that the aha moment, or that the shock moment just gets you right away.
You're killing me, Luis, because I mean, that's one of the things about the cinema, like the legitimate cinema, that it's why I essentially dedicated my life to live cinema screenings. And so this pandemic is really hard on me. It's been psychologically and emotionally crushing, because it really takes my life purpose and just says, nope, never mind. It sucks. And you also bring up a really great point. Comedy and horror, I'll hear this question a lot, especially if it's at a Q&A for filmmakers who made a horror comedy. And you've probably heard this yourself, one of the first questions you get is like, how do you balance the horror and the comedy? How do you make that work? And in my head, I'm like, it's the same thing, like horror and comedy are so intrinsically related, because they are both about building of tension and releasing tension. They are both about getting a visceral reaction, and a lot of the techniques, the filmic language techniques that you use to land a great joke or a great horror gag or a great scare, it's kind of the same. It's about timing, right? It's about timing and how you build that. There's a great story that one of our programmers always talks about, how we showed a film last year called A Noise That Carries, and you need to see this one. It's now, but he's actually from Venezuela. His name is Guillermo de la Rosa, and he did this awesomely terrifying short film called A Noise That Carries, that builds into one momentous scare. And when that happened at the Frida Cinema, you could hear we had 200 people. You could hear the entire theater just go, and and my programmer said she looked back. Oh, it was Christina Rea. It was one of our filmmakers. So it was even better. Looked back, and me and Sterling were at the back of the theater when we both high-fived, and she caught us because we were both sitting there just waiting for it, just waiting. Yeah. And when it landed, and that's for the programmers, right? So like the excitement that you expect
there was a movie like that at I don't know if it was last year or the year before, because I was doing a couple of the Q&As for Ethan and them, that way it was just like this entire film that led up to this one moment where the guy basically, and I'm not gonna say it, but he shoots his wife and his kid at the end of the movie, and it's this whole thing about like bipolar disorder. And whatnot. I'm not sure if you remember that movie.
Was that Hysteria?
I think it was Hysteria. Yeah.
That movie's awesome. That's Carlos Melendez, I think.
Yeah. But I did the Q&A for that afterwards, and I had watched the movie ahead of time, and I got to the theater late, but I was like, oh, I got here in time for this moment, and then I was just sitting there on the side, and then I was waiting for it, and here it comes, and then the whole theater was just like, just like gasping and like reacting to it. So that was kind of that's kind of how one of the things that I've spoken to a couple of filmmakers recently. Shelley Rowe had a movie, White Ink, that got into the Latino Film Festival, where she's doing a deep festival run in a bunch of different places. Is that a lot of these festivals, like you said, one of the main things is going there, meeting other filmmakers, finding people to collaborate with, etc. And that sometimes the Q&As for other festivals sort of get clogged up with people asking, more generic sort of fanboyish questions from people that are just film fans. But that some festivals have set up these rooms and these meeting places for filmmakers to sort of communicate in, and that in essence, even though it's different, they've still been able to make connections because there's less interactions with fans and more interactions with each other. Have you guys set anything up like that?
Yeah, that's really important. So we have networking sessions, and there are events built in that are for filmmakers only, that are to meet that goal. So, back in May, I had a meeting with our team saying, okay, and it was before I really knew we were for sure going to go virtual, but I thought it was probably likely. And I was like, look, we're probably going to go virtual. I have a lot of fears about that. And one of them is, how do we make up for not being able to have networking sessions? Like, one of the things we offer filmmakers is the ability to meet other filmmakers. I love that there have been films made by different groups of people who met at our festival. Like, when that happens, that's pretty awesome. So how do we mirror that? And so far, we started a Facebook group just for our filmmakers, and we invited our alumni too, who've showed in the past, just to kind of, and we'll do these prompts. Some of them are kind of fun, just fun prompts, like what is the first movie that scared you or anything like that, to post your Instagram handle, and or for the filmmakers who are showing this year, post your trailer and thing, and people can just start to talk to each other. It'll generate conversations. Mm-hmm. And so far we've done, so I was looking at it from, okay, so if we're going to go virtual, what does virtual offer that in-person does not? And one of the things that it offers is, why can't we start now? Why can't we have a networking session now? So 2 weeks ago, we did our first networking session. It was over Zoom. I was really wondering how it was going to go. We had 80 filmmakers from this year on the Zoom call. Luckily, because I work for UC San Diego and I train instructors, and especially in the last few months, all of my training has been on remote instruction, remote teaching and learning. And it's been using Zoom and how to use Zoom effectively. So we were able to really get it down. And the one thing I said to myself is okay, we're going to have these regular networking sessions. It might be monthly or bi-weekly. We'll figure that out. But what I don't want is to have all these filmmakers sign into the Zoom session and then we all just so what's up? You know, what do you want to talk about? And it just be like a lot of awkward silence. So I'm choosing kind of keynote speakers to talk about like one big major topic at the beginning and give a presentation, and that starts conversations rolling. And it went really, really well. And so like a lot of the people in the Facebook group right now, the private Facebook group, have started talking to each other because they met in that Zoom networking session. You know what I mean? So those are, it's not perfect because we're not like having a beer together at Worst House or something. Right. But
one thing that I miss the most out of film festivals is all the free Stellas.
Yeah.
You gotta. What's a film festival without Stella Areolas on tap?
Especially the Asian Film Festival, man. Every year, just loading up those free Stellas.
Hero Team Ken commented that it's nice to hear networking isn't dead. So it's obviously definitely good to hear that these that you're still having these events. Now, I wanted to touch briefly on sort of how politics have been affecting the industry and the genre. Obviously, I know that you and a lot of other people that I know that are passionate about kind of what's going on in the U.S. right now are out there sort of getting into these conversations with people that might be kind of not understanding kind of what we're going through and what other people are going through. How do you keep that from affect? I know that you take time off. I know that you have your daughter. Yeah. I know that you got to go to your quiet place and stuff like that. But how has that been affecting you? Sort of, briefly give me a little insight into how you're dealing with that.
So I'm lucky in a way because I've been able to keep working, So I'm like really privileged, and I have to acknowledge that. Is that I've been able to work remotely from home, so I can still I see my daughter more than I did before the pandemic. And I work for a university that has a lot of great resources. And when George Floyd was murdered, that was a really hard time for a lot of people, and myself included. And I even told my director, I said, I don't know how much I can focus right now. And he said, "Oh, that's fine." And he pointed me to some resources, and they've got a lot of really good mental health resources. And I've been taking advantage of some of that, including these Zoom group kind of talk back sessions where you can be pretty open about how you're feeling about things. And at first I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to do this," but it actually really did help. But honestly, about how the politics is affecting the festival, it's never not affected it. I've always thought of horror as a way to express fear and anxiety, and politics, just like religion or family or relationships, is one of those major the human condition things that causes a lot of fear and anxiety. It's funny because I'll hear a lot of people in the horror community keep politics out of horror. I was like, man, horror is politics. Are you kidding me? Come on. Have you not seen a George Romero film? Have you not seen a John Carpenter or a Cronenberg film? Who are you? Where have you been?
Have you noticed? Have you noticed in the last 3.5 years that you've gotten more submissions with alternative point of views? Has that grown?
So I do think so. We've always had a high number of films from women compared to other festivals, and that was on purpose. We always kind of sought that out. Even year one, this was not near. We've been doing this 11 years. And that we were just told, you guys have been doing this since the beginning. You didn't start it now. But there's still holes that I'm trying to fill, Last year we showed an amazing film called, it sounds ridiculous, but it's actually really good. It's called Zombies and Indians. And
I'm sorry, you said zombies and Indians?
yeah, it's made by an indigenous filmmaker, right?
Well,
and
I
to
just
be
want to
fair,
remember it so I can look this up.
oh, it's so good.
I
Hit me
wanna
up on
watch it.
email. I'll connect you. Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, my email's right in front of me, so
There. Oh yeah. There you go. Yeah, you're okay.
yeah, there you go. Way to be observant. That's good though.
He's the filmmaker's First Nation, so it's Canadian. That's a little bit different, right? There's more support in Canada than there is here in the States, for anybody, but for Indigenous folks in particular. I've always kind of lamented. I was like, oh, we're not getting enough submissions from Indigenous folks. We're not getting enough submissions from Black filmmakers. We've never gotten enough submissions. That's what I would always tell myself, right? There have been Black filmmakers, but in terms of percentages, it has not been representative. We've always had lots of international films from various countries in Europe, from Mexico and Latin America, from Southeast Asia, lots of Asian films. So it's been diverse, but there have been underrepresented voices. And that has started to shift a bit. This year, especially after what happened with George Floyd and the resurgence, I will say, of the Black Lives Matter movement, because as you know, Black Lives Matter has been around for years, and seemed, to kind of go silent for a little bit in terms of the media, but came back with a vengeance after the last few murders, not just George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and so many others, and now we've got more, but it made me kind of reassess looking at our submission pool. So when that happened, I did the work of exporting all of our submissions, which at that point, I will also say here that after March, say March 20th, March 30th, when the pandemic, it was after South by Southwest canceled, that had an effect on submissions. So this year we had about half of the submissions we normally get. So before, when I was talking about money problems, that's part of it, is we lost that financial, support. Again, we're in America where the arts get no support. So that's, submissions are part of what keeps the ecosystem going. And of course, sponsorships have dried up. Sponsorships are dead. We haven't gotten a single one this year, so no money there either. But all right, so I took the films we did have, which I think at that point was like 500, 600.
Let's put the thing back on the screen there, so everybody knows where you can get tickets. Right there, hifilmfest.com.
Get it.
Let's get those subs up.
Yeah, right. Submissions will go back up, by the way, filmmakers out there, October 1st.
Okay.
Halloween will not be dead this year. I know we're all afraid of that, but it will not be dead. Halloween is here, right?
Kurt, I don't know if you can tell by looking at it, the motif in his house, but he is a little bit of a horror fan, which is why I invited him to come on. He's actually made a bunch of smaller sort of short horror films that I've
really horrible, just for the moment.
He loves the genre, and he also he's also a musician, and he composes a lot of stuff, and he collaborates. I
heard some of that earlier.
Yeah, so he's definitely a guy that can put something together and submit.
Wait,
I love submitting.
Yeah, there you go. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Yeah. For promotional purposes, cut me off anytime. But all right. So again, I had like 500, 600 submissions at that point. I literally went through all of our submissions, and I looked specifically for submissions from Black filmmakers. And there were I think 15, right, out of 500, 600. And so I started to like reassess like some things, because it's really easy, and I hear festivals do this all the time, and I get it, but it's really easy to say, well, they're just not submitting, right? I've said it myself. And so when people say do better, that we have to do that for ourselves as well. And this is the year that I had to tell myself that, right? So I can't just rely on, well, they're just not submitting. And I have to go farther and say, why are we not getting that many submissions? Now, I've had this conversation before. I've had talks with Black filmmakers who we have shown before. And, it's possibly true that many Black folks who are making films aren't necessarily doing horror. And the same is true for Indigenous filmmakers. But it's not, it doesn't account for the lack of submissions. And the reality is that a lot of festivals don't have any kind of mechanism in place to try to make themselves appealing to those festivals. So you mentioned before that filmmakers need to research festivals. So if I look back at our program, but really any program, and I look at the networking pictures, I look at the lists of director headshots, and I just see like no Black faces, I might not feel welcome to submit. And that's on me. You know what I mean? So that's something that I need to fix.
Well, do you think it sort of kind of goes along, for example, like, and this is just from like in terms of like when the Americans with Disabilities Act got put into place, which is, well, you have to put, it's not enough to necessarily say, well, we have ramps.
Mm-hmm.
You also at some point need to try to go out of your way to find people with disabilities and offer them positions that they could have at your company. Yeah. Is that kind of like the same sort of message that you're sort of trying to adhere to?
Yeah, I do think that. I think that's absolutely true. And it's, we have a pretty diverse group working for us in terms of programmers, but again, it's not fully representative for everyone. And that's kind of hard to do because we're small and I can't pay anyone yet, including myself. But I pay some stipends for some things, but I don't have this massive workforce where I could say, yeah, I'm hiring all these people. So it's weird because I would like to have more programmers who are Black women. But it's like, yeah, it's hard for me to go out and say, hey, why don't you do this work for me for free?
Right.
So, but what are ways to improve? And there's room for improvement. I mean, our programming team is 50% women, right? There are people. It's a POC owned company as a brown person, so there are things there, but there's always room for improvement.
One of the filmmakers that I'm familiar with that's in San Diego that I've sort of been keeping track of, because I saw some of their earlier films, and I did actually see this film already, The Pumpkin Patch by Bless Williams.
Yeah.
That's a Black filmmaker, local, that's gonna get a chance to sort of, be, well, in essence, before he was going to have a chance to be highlighted in a festival where people walk in, but now it's still a way to promote kind of an up and coming filmmaker.
I love Bless because Bless Williams is so enthusiastic about his work, and The Pumpkin Patch, there's a lot going on in that film.
There's a lot of
so I mean, first of all, I'm stoked that it's
very stylized. It's almost very surreal. It's got like a bunch of different kinds of elements in it, and you see a lot of it and go through a big range of emotions in a short amount of time.
Yeah, in just a few minutes.
It packs a lot.
It starts off as one thing.
Yeah.
And it ends up as something else.
Yeah.
And when it ends up as that something else, it takes you off guard because it's emotional in a way that you were not expecting from the way it started. And that's hard to do, and it pulls it off, and mostly because his actors are super good in it. because it does. It just looks like a fun Halloween movie, right? But
yeah,
it ends up as something completely different, and I really, really enjoy that film.
So shout out Bless Williams. And another film that I saw that was playing that I kind of get an idea that it was sort of a gender bending concept was Green Cobra.
Green Cobra's so fun. Oh man.
Which seems like it was like half like I don't know what you would call that, but it's almost like this is a Spinal Tap of horror movies.
Yeah. So actually, you know, what I was reminded of right off the bat was like we are oh my god, my brain, it's one of my favorite shows on right now. Great film.
What We Do in the Shadows?
What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that or Alf.
or Alf?
Yeah, we're rebooting Alf, me and Kurt.
Gordon Shumway?
Gordon Shumway.
From Melmac?
Help me, Rhonda. Hey, I want to just give somebody commented here. Just want to. They said Luisa Fung.
Oh, that's one of our filmmakers.
Thank you, Miguel. Bravo. Thank you for doing more.
So Luisa directed Daybreak, which is one of our 1 minute micros.
Okay, I'm gonna add that to my list.
Yeah, definitely add it. Yeah. Yeah, highly recommended. And I'll here though, and you know this as a filmmaker yourself, Luis. Making a 1 minute does not mean it's easy.
No,
it probably makes it harder.
No, absolutely, because yeah, everything starts off short, and then all of a sudden you're like, you know, there's a 50-minute movie. Why do I have a 30-page script? You know?
Yeah.
I've actually made plenty of 1 minute.
There you go.
Okay, well, that's what she's.
Not films, but.
I see.
No. Andy Richter. So
yeah, he's supposed to be coming in with the one-liners. All right. So one other thing that I want to talk to you about, Miguel, is I was because actually I had a conversation with her, but a filmmaker that was featured in your festival a while ago, Gigi Saw Guerrero. She's moved on to she's doing stuff for Blumquist. What I'm sorry, I messed up the name.
Blumhouse. Hey,
Blumhouse.
Yes. What we do in the shadows.
But I'm gonna try to get her on the pod as well. But just to talk about Latino horror and Latinas in horror. But do you feel sometimes like, especially in the horror genre, since it's a very well respected festival, that you're sort of in like running like the minor leagues of horror filmmaker? Like you get to see all these different filmmakers, some of them that move on to start directing like huge projects, and they get put on like giant lists. You know, and you're sort of seeing them like when they're starting off. Yeah. You know, does that kind of give you, does that sort of what pushes you to keep going somewhat, like just sort of that you're in this position and you take that, because I see that you take it very seriously. All right, I'm gonna put my sad face on. Like you had written me an email because you had rejected a film I submitted, and you know, me and you had a relationship, but I know that but it didn't matter to me because I was like, I can see the faults in the stuff that I make, but you somehow just still have to put it out there just in case. But I know that you struggle. I know that you struggle with that. You know, how do you deal with that?
Therapy. No, that's not even a joke. Yeah, no. I feel like a lot of filmmakers would call bullshit on me for saying, like, what's the worst part about this? It's not losing, you know, the 1 year that I was $9,000 in debt. It's not not sleeping for 6 months straight. It's not the stress of dealing with this on top of a day job, on top of a family life. It's that day that arrives where I have to send out the notices to those films that didn't make it. That's the worst by far of this. I hate it so much. And every morning of that morning, I have like mini panic attacks, and I open up Film Freeway and I close it and I open it up again. And I write like the email that's going to go out, and I delete it all and I write it again. And it's really, really hard. So how I deal with that, it's like torture. And, you know, a lot of the stuff that it was like There's a film we're showing. I won't mention what it is because of this interaction, but I saw a post that the filmmaker for that film made that said, we got into this festival and this festival, but we didn't get into this other one, and we were really hoping to get into it. So, at least these others, can appreciate what we did or whatever. And I couldn't help myself. I had to like respond and be like, maybe you're right, but first of all, your film's excellent. So I'm going to suspect that you might be wrong. And a good chunk of the time, if a film doesn't get in, it's not because the work wasn't appreciated or the person it's so complex.
The logistics of it.
Yeah, like why a film gets in versus why it doesn't. Like, especially
there might be too many similar films. There might be, there might be something that's been overdone, but just slightly better.
So much of the time, it's because there are too many similar films. There was one this year that it was great, and it sucks to not. But it was so much. It was the same saying the same thing, and it's just time, especially for us. We're not like this 25-day festival.
Right.
So if we get 1,700 submissions, or even like 600, like we did 700, like we did this year, and we could only take 60 or 70 of them, like that's just the tiniest sliver. It doesn't mean those were the only ones that were good. It doesn't mean those were the only ones that were worthy of an audience. It means that they were the ones that we had time for. They were the ones that fit together. They were the ones that were thematically melded with each other. So, like, for example, earlier I said we have a short film block called Twisted Innocence. And, in a short film block, I try to keep those to 90 minutes. Once you have that filled, then suddenly, like, a lot of good films fitting in that theme just don't fit anymore. So then you really have to like start to like, which one are we going to put in? Which one are we going to have to take out? That's like, it's all part of the process. I mean, this past year when we were finalizing the program, Sterling and I were on Zoom until like 4:30 in the morning, getting it. And we had been on the phone for like 3 days straight. And I can talk about a lot, our overall programming process, which is months and months long. But getting those final like icing on the cake kind of touches, it's like really, really, really hard. So I don't even remember what the original question.
No, I was going to try to lead you back to it, and I interrupted you. With a follow. See, I asked these complex, multi-layered questions, and then I forget what I said. But
that actually seems very hard. I think to be able to tell someone that their hard work they put in, that it didn't work for your festival or whatever.
Right.
I would hate to be
the guy that has to do that,
delivering any kind of bad news to anybody. But it's also a business, so you have to. That has to be hard.
I mean, it's just the reality. I mean, it's a reality.
It's a reality.
Do you have an itchy eye, or are you actually literally crying right
now?
No,
I have an itchy eye.
You fucking crying.
The original point that I wanted to give you time to elaborate on was my thought that you're sort of in the minor leagues of horror filmmaker, right? And then you see other directors that sort of go on, and how does that make you feel? And is that something that keeps you pushing?
I mean, I love when I see direct, like Gigi, right? She's a great example. Filmmakers gain success after going through our festival. I actually like where we are. I'm my day job, I'm a teacher. I was a teacher. I was always a teacher. I've always had an educational component to the festival, and now I train instructors, so I'm still in the education world. So I'm not saying that I am an educator to our filmmakers. They're more of an educator to me because I'm learning from what their expressions are. But I love being at this point where they are working on this very challenging craft. Not just challenging because it's hard and nearly impossible to accomplish, but challenging because it's financially crippling. It's challenging because you have to rely on a collaborative effort of a variety of egos and artists to go toward a singular vision that's really just very difficult to do. And being at this point where someone is like just trying to get seen, just trying to test the waters, just trying to get a reaction. That's such a great place to be because, first of all, you deal with fewer divas, right? You deal with fewer massive egos. That still always happens, but like, you know, most of the filmmakers that we have screened have gone on to become like very close friends because they turn out to be great people, you know, and you get them when they're still great people. That sounds really bad.
Before they get chewed up by the system.
Yeah, I mean, I will be fair and say that, you know, Gigi and a lot of my friends who have been successful, I won't say that they were shitty. That is not from from experience that I'm saying that. I'm being funny a little bit, but I don't know. I like being at that early stage in someone's art career, where it is more about, you know, when someone's in that early stage, I feel like a lot of their stuff is more personal because they're trying to just tell the story they want to tell. And, you know, if someone gets a job with Universal or with Blumhouse even, you know, luckily Gigi's culture shock with the Hulu Blumhouse series was also very personal and was perfect for her. But sometimes it doesn't feel as personal. It's a little more of a job. You know what I mean? So I do like that about our level of filmmaking.
All right, Miguel, I got a couple more questions, and then I got a bracket bit that I do with all my guests that we'll get to in a second. But and I also wanted to ask you about two more questions there.
Sure.
About two more movies. But I did have a follow-up based on what you said right now, which is about the earnest and about the level of filmmakers that you get in your festival. Mm-hmm. Can you spot somebody that is not putting a lot of artistic thought, but that is sort of painting by numbers and trying to create a festival film? Can you sniff those out?
Yeah, immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, like, think about it. Like, we have to watch so much stuff. Your eye and, you know, almost like a fifth sense just gets trained and you feel it, you sense it. I'm not always concerned per se with someone who's trying to cater their film to a festival necessarily. It depends, you know. And honestly,
is there a lack of passion? Is there a lack of, you know? There can be.
So there's a film that came out a few years ago called We Are Still Here. I don't know if you remember it. But the filmmaker, it's not We Are Still Here. It was You're Next. Do you remember You're Next?
Yes.
Okay. So the story behind You're Next is the filmmaker was fairly unsuccessful getting into a particular festival. It was either Toronto, the Midnight Madness, or it was Fantasia. It was one of those really well-esteemed Canadian genre festivals. And then, you know, the story I'm paraphrasing, but the story that I was told was he stepped back and looked at the other films they were showing and the kind of stuff that was exciting their audience and made You're Next, right? The difference is, and it was successful because it was catered to that, but he still was able to put himself into it. You know, Your Next is a lot of fun. Even if he was making a film catered to those festivals, he didn't back away from making something that he would want to watch himself, something that was fun. So you can do both, right? For me, I have a much harder time with total pastiche. What I mean by that is, like someone wants to make a movie that this is just like a giallo, or this is just like a 70s grindhouse film, or this is just like an 80s film. And those feel more paint by numbers if there's nothing new put into it. If it is just, it's like, yep, this definitely, you got the music right. It's technically okay. But it's just like, it's just a pastiche. It's just a recreation. So it's not as exciting to me.
Pretty quickly, you sniff those out, or you just like this
almost immediately. Especially the grindhouse ones.
Yeah.
Where they use like After Effects to do like film fuzz and scratches and VHS lines and all that.
So once you're at hifilmfest.com to get the passes. I wanted to ask you another question right now about one of the featured movies. I'm going to step away for 20 seconds while you answer this one, just in case. But I think
I'll listen.
Kirk can sort of ask, because I know him and I are fans of like the old school sort of like Ed Woodish type movies.
Yeah.
The Brain That Wouldn't Die.
Yes.
So why did you? Are you familiar with that one, Kurt?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, definitely the poster, because I don't remember the film anymore. I've seen it years ago, but yeah.
Oh man,
so, Miguel, tell us a little bit about why that got chosen. And
okay, so we're doing a chat along party style with the original Brain That Wouldn't Die from 1962, which is a movie I love.
Yeah.
But we're showing it because one of our submissions was a full feature length remake that came out this year.
Was it like the remake of Psycho that Gus Van Sant did?
No, it's not a shot by shot.
Shot by shot. Okay,
yeah,
good. That's good.
It's very much like in the vein of, and it's super fun. When I saw that, I was like, oh man, this can be really bad.
Remakes can.
Yes, they can. But this one was done with exactly the right spirit, and it walks the line perfectly between like, it is both really like reverent toward the original film and completely bonkers irreverent, and takes all the fun stuff like the gore and the, there's a lot of stuff in that original film that was really pretty risque for the time.
Yeah.
And it kind of like ramps it up a little bit more. So it's super fun. We're doing a double feat. That's actually what we're opening with next Tuesday. It's our opening.
You're going to show the original and the remake?
Yes, we're doing a double feature. So we're going to show the remake first.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of a later night.
The remake first.
We're going to show the remake first. Because
I think I would show the original and then the remake.
Well, so I'm not doing it for comparison reasons.
Okay.
Right. I'm doing it more. So we're doing the original, which is a public domain film. We're doing it more for shits and giggles. Okay. So the original, technically, you know what? I'll be honest with you. So the remake,
I hope,
will be available for 48 hours straight. So if someone really wanted to, they could see the original first and then go and watch the remake later.
Okay.
But
that makes sense.
So so I will put this out there to the audience. If you want to see the original first and then the remake, you can totally do that. Honestly, I just wanted, since I saw the remake, I was like, oh, this is too fun. I want to show it. I love classic horror. It's totally up my alley. So I was like, well, the original is public domain, so let's show that, but let's make it more fun. Like we're virtual now, so we're losing that to some degree. We're losing that community spirit. So I'm going to take that one off of Eventive, and we're going to use the Vimeo live streaming platform, because I don't have to worry about like rights or DRM with that film. And we're gonna literally watch it together and chat along, and hopefully people will have like beers or whatever, and make it a big fun, to do. We are gonna Q&A the remake before it though, so if someone decides to watch the remake afterward, then they might want to come in a little bit later. But yeah, that's not the only one we're doing like that. We're also doing an older film called Dr. Butcher MD Medical Deviant. And it's the 40th year anniversary of that one.
The title alone sold me, but go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, it's an Italian exploitation film with cannibals and zombies and mad scientists and no live animal murder. So if anyone's out there thinking it might be like Cannibal Holocaust, it's not that rough. Thankfully, it's more just trashy fun, but we'll be chatting along that one too, because that one's definitely much more fun if you watch it with a group of friends than if you're like sitting at home alone, because it's a bad movie.
I personally believe remakes are cool because especially of old movies that no one ever watched before, or people haven't really seen or been exposed to, but I'm still kind of waiting for the remake of I may have this title wrong, but The Day of the Triffids.
Oh, Day of the Triffids. So yeah, all right.
I would love for someone to do a remake on that. just to bring the original back to light.
So the original, you're right. It seems a little bit forgotten. There was a British TV series that's more like the book. The book is originally a British book. And the movie from the 60s takes a lot of liberties. It's very different from the book, other than people go blind and there are killer plants. But I love Day of the Triffids, and I would love there to.
It's a great concept.
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
It was awesome.
Yeah. The remakes can be good if they have something new to say. The thing about stories in general is stories are passed on. And then people put their own baggage on them. And so, a lot of people talk about John Carpenter's The Thing as being a great remake, which it is.
I love it, but it's one of my favorites. But
it's a masterpiece. And one of the reasons it's like an exemplar of what makes a very good remake is it takes that. So they're both the original Thing from Another World and this were based on a short story called Who Goes There? And they both take that original concept, but they do it completely differently. And the original is totally like a 1950s like paranoia, America versus the other kind of Red Scare era movie, whereas John Carpenter's is like paranoia against each other, right? Mm-hmm. So it says something different, and it takes the same story and it matches it to its current environment in a really great way. And that, any story done with intention, with purpose can be great. And that's whether it's a remake or a reboot, that doesn't automatically discount something.
Now speaking of what you just mentioned, I don't mean to take over there, but I had a question. How do you feel? And this is something me and my friends have been debating a lot about in the past recent years. How do you feel about Rob Zombie movies? I don't want to badmouth the guy, but I personally think his movies are crap.
Kurt, taking a peek into my notebook for my next question. Thanks.
Okay, I'm sorry. But,
do you think it's really funny? My take on it is that
I'm not talking about his remakes of Halloween because those are all bullshit. But go ahead.
I'm going to reach behind my webcam here and just pull out some of. I've got like a whole stack of these. The one movie that I really do appreciate from Rob Zombie.
Please don't say 31.
No, God, no. Not even
okay, good.
Is The Devil's Rejects, which you're probably seeing backward. I do like this film. When it came out, so did you see it in the theater?
I did.
Okay. When it came out, it was the right time for me to see that film. It's been a long time since I revisited it, to be fair.
No, it's true. But I felt the same way. I kind of like that film, along with the witch one. What's that one? Everyone hated this one.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I didn't love it either.
Witches of Salem or something like that.
Witches of Salem, yeah.
Lords of Salem. I'm sorry, Lords of Salem.
Or Lords of Salem.
That's the only Rob Zombie movie I dug, and no one agrees with me.
I appreciate that he was doing something that was just his, but I didn't love it. I didn't. I really haven't liked anything he's done in a very, very long time.
I think that
me neither.
Me and Kurt had talked about this, I think, on a different pod. But I think it's more of a filmmaking aesthetic than it is a style that he has. It's almost like the film is made to justify the violence or what he's kind of trying to do. That's sort of cool.
Yeah,
in my opinion, which is what I get. All right, I'm almost wrapping up here with you, Mr. Miguel. I know you've been swamped lately, but I want to finish out these questions real quick for you. This will be a lightning round here for you.
Okay. Name some of the features we're showing.
Go ahead. What are the other features that that you guys got going on?
Well, we talked a lot about Brain That Wouldn't Die, so we'll go past that. Okay. I want to mention Darkness in Tenement 45, which is a feature film. Earlier, we were talking about the pandemic thing, and this film was made last year, but feels like it was made yesterday because it is about being in lockdown with a bunch of people who don't really get along during a pandemic. It's also a period piece. It takes place in the 40s, and it's really fascinating. And the whole thing takes place in one building. So it's the acting is really, it sells it. And then we've got Dead, which is a New Zealand comedy, horror comedy about it's a stoner who develops a drug that lets him see ghosts. And, he's kind of just like a sweet stoner. So the way he uses this power is he talks to people. He does kind of like a ghost thing, the Patrick Swayze ghost, where he'll like let people talk to their loved ones or something. And then go and
sexy.
But then one of the ghosts turns out to be a cop who wants him to help him catch a serial killer. So it's like this mad romp. It's fun. There's that. The Return is this crazy like sci-fi monster movie where it's having its world premiere. It's from Canada. It's got two of the actors from that show, The 100. So a lot of the CW kids are like all over this thing, but it's super fun. And we're going to connect, since it is like full of all these like heavy, like sci-fi ideas. We're going to couple that with a panel with a cognitive scientist from UC San Diego, where we're going to do the Q&A for the film, and then we're going to talk about the science in the film.
Wow. Okay.
So that's
cool.
going to be super fun.
They're not doing that at Con.
Exactly. We've got Repossession, which is from Singapore, which is a total genre bender. It's definitely like a 1% versus the 99% kind of film, and then like completely blends that with an off the wall like demon possession film, and it's so good. It's so good. It's got like actors from Crazy Rich Asians, and I can't wait to show that film.
So it's about marriage.
It has marriage in it. Yes. It has
well, you
marriage
said demon possession, so
yes, there you go.
I assumed.
Hey,
dude.
All right, one last comment that we have here before I go into my bracket bit, and that's from Hero Teen. Ken, do you have any thoughts about the Candyman remake?
I cannot wait to see it, and I wish I could have seen it back when we were supposed to see it. Yeah. Oh man, it looks phenomenal. To be honest, I'm like well, that's one of the things I'm chomping at the bit about. And when that trailer dropped and it had the Philip Glass music in it, like I got so excited because Candyman is a great film, right? But
I was always a fan.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan, but we were talking about like remakes and the purpose of remakes. And there are a lot of things about Candyman that really need an update. Like as much as I love it, it is kind of a movie. It really is. If you look at the new Candyman Blu-ray that came out recently, which is fantastic, everyone out there should buy it. And I love this film. So just because I'm saying this you can still love a film and criticize it, but it does have this great discussion with two black academics, And one of the things that they say about it, which, was really enlightening for me was, it's a horror film about Black people for white people. And I get that. I get what it's saying. And I think that when you have this remake coming up with these new the new creative force behind it, I'm talking about Nia DaCosta, the director, right? And of course the producer's Jordan Peele. I think that we potentially have something really special, and that trailer looks phenomenal. And I don't know if y'all saw that animation that came out. Did you see that?
No.
Oh my god. Hold on a second. I'm gonna chat this shit to you right now.
You're gonna make us watch this whole thing before the interview is over?
That's it. It'll be quick. We're 90 minutes in, Kurt.
Yeah,
There's no rules, buddy. We're almost out of here. There's no big.
No, we're not going to show it now.
He's sending it to us so we can review it at a later
point. All right, that's good.
I'm adding it to the private chat because it's criminal that you have not seen this yet. Okay. If the movie sucks, which I do not think it will, but if the movie sucks,
it won't.
It was worth it for this animation to exist. It's my favorite thing that's come out this year.
I'm excited to watch that. So.
Yeah.
All right, Miguel, I got one quick question, and then we'll get to the bracket here. Actually, one quick one, two quick ones here. The Psycho remake. Beautiful, unnecessary, or beautiful homage? Where do you fall on that?
I mean, it's easy to say I hate it. I do.
It's easy to say I hate it. I do. All right, great. Thanks. Moving on.
I loved it. I loved it.
So back when it came out, Gus Van Sant said, I wanted to make this for people who won't watch black and white movies. And then all I could say to myself was, they don't deserve to see Psycho. Fuck them and fuck you. So that was my feeling on it.
I can see that, but I actually brought a friend to the movie theater to go watch this movie. She's never seen or even knows anything about Psycho, the original.
Right.
And I've seen it. I love the film. I literally took her to the theater and she was frightened. The shower scene still held up. All this
37.
Yeah. I'm 47 right now, so
37 different angles, right? Was it 37 different angles that they used in that?
78.
78 different angles.
It's 78 cuts.
Well, no, 78 cuts, but 78 cuts, but different setups, like different actual shots.
Right. But I do agree that I feel like maybe this was a college film he should have done, like something to enter in his college.
Yeah, it's more like
it's not a major motion picture. It should not have been.
It's how they redo the Big Lebowski every year at one of the college here, where they just like, hey, we're doing the Lebowski again.
In my bathroom, I do have an actual original poster for the original Psycho in my bathroom. So I thought that was
it goes back to what I was saying. It goes back to what I was saying. It's like, remakes and stories, I want them to have like purpose and intention. Yeah, and if the purpose and intention is just to
make money
carefully and very carefully recreate exactly everything.
It's a school project.
Yeah, I'm not interested. That it's not for me. That's all. That's what.
And my last question before we get to the bracket here would be and this is because you are a new father. You're a guy that lives in newish, still
newish.
Still newish. Still got the warranty.
I still haven't figured it out. Yeah. So
I talked to actually Fernando Fisher from Perturbado, another film that's showing local horror. I did a whole pod with him because he helped his I think she was like 15-year-old daughter make her first horror film, which was like a little minute long film. I know your daughter is growing up around a lot of horror memorabilia, and obviously she's going to be watching movies with daddy. So are you just kind of full on into just her growing up immersed in it? Because for most filmmakers, I would say like they say, like when do you have if you are like a real big movie fan, Like for me, it's like, what year would I sit down and watch and watch and have my kid watch The Godfather or something like that,
Right.
or Star Wars or things like that? How do you feel about what's the thought process that you go through that?
My thought process is that I never had an age limit. Right.
When you grew up, you could watch anything, right?
I could watch anything at any age.
Right.
And I did. I watched anything at any age. So it's much more about how you react to the films than about like trying to hide from them. So the only reason, I'm going to caveat this.
Okay.
The only reason I have this sneaking thing that makes me want to say, oh, you're not old enough for that yet, is so she can experience the joy of going behind my back and doing it anyway, like experience that rebellion that I didn't have, you know, like some people like would hide in their rooms under the blanket. And I could watch like anything, man. So, you know, one of the stories that my family always tells, and I've told myself, is I think my parents at first tried to maybe be protective about this kind of thing, but I was 4 years old and my little brother was an infant, and they left us in the care of my, abuelita left us in the care of my grandmother, and they went on a date, and then they got home later that night and they heard like murmurs, and they're like, oh, it sounds like Delby's telling a story to the kids. And so they sneak in, and when they get to within earshot, they hear the story is like, and then he cut the person's head off and blood spurted up in the air. And that was the end. That's, you know, it was always there.
So
to be fair, Scarlett's already seen a bunch of stuff.
So you're probably either, you know, serial killer or Sofia Coppola of horror. So that's kind of like the two opposite ends, right?
I guess, you know, there's actually not a lot of evidence that serial killers were into anything horror related.
Just religion.
Yes, there's that. There's a lot of evidence that what happens to people who grow up with these kinds of movies, they grow up wanting to make them.
Yeah, that's why I said Sofia Coppola of horror.
Yes,
and we
have cats for pets.
Yeah,
a lot of cats.
All right, and then what I do with every guest, Miguel, and I'm gonna let you go, but we're gonna obviously plug the film festival before and after. Remember, if you guys, 11 years strong, online only this year. There's a crap ton of really good, interesting films. Go to hifilmfest.com, check it out, get yourself a pass. I have like at least 5 on my must-watch list, and then I also added like 4 more during this conversation. So
nice, excellent.
So Kurt, you might have to upgrade me on my pass.
I'm really curious. I'm curious to get your opinion on Repossession. That's for sure.
And then Kurt also said that he that if you need help, he will watch horror movies for free for you if you need any music. He's a guy with a big background. All right, so. For the bracket for the bracket for this episode, I chose horror directors. So I'm going to give you a list of 3 to 4 horror directors, and you have to just pick one that moves on. It could be for whatever reason. And after I give you a list, if you wish to expand on your thoughts on anyone, you may. All right.
Okay.
Kurt, be quiet.
Okay. I'll try.
All right, and I put these on, some of them random, some of them because they're obviously one of the best ones, and some because they just had one movie that I like by them, okay? So away we go. All right. Rob Zombie, Takashi Mike, or David Lynch?
Man, I'm going to go with Takashi Miike on that one.
Me too. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt, but go ahead.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. Though I will say that it was hard to throw in David Lynch there. That was well done. Yeah.
Well,
some of these will be easier than others. Kurt,
so
I just want
actually like I am going to address this. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I think that one of the most effective, like actually scary, making me feel uncomfortable, scared kind of films are from David Lynch. When it comes to like Mulholland Drive, freaked me the hell out, and Lost Highway freaked me the hell out, and Blue Velvet is very horrific. They're just not horror in the kind of common parlance.
Yeah.
But they're more effective for me.
What about Rabbits? His short Rabbits.
Oh, see, freaky as fuck.
I
Man.
love that.
Yeah,
I love
it's
that.
fantastic. I love it. Yeah.
Kurt, I just want you to know I am not writing down your answers. So
I know.
I know you keep you said it for some reason, but just letting you know. All right, next set of directors: Sam Raimi, Wes Craven, Jordan Peele.
Ooh.
So that's kind of rough because Jordan Peele he's
like the new horror master right now. He's like getting himself up to that throne right now.
Yeah, and it's not just that. It's he just hasn't made a lot. We've seen 2 films in this genre from him. Both of them I loved. Us seemed to have a lot of like people all across the spectrum on how they felt about it. I loved Us. Of course, I love Get Out. I mean, I think they're both game changer films. So I have to give Jordan Peele a lot of credit. This is hard because then you've got this newbie, brilliant
against 2 masters, man.
Against 2 and not only like masters, but also like nostalgia. With Wes Craven, you're pulling on my heartstrings.
Yeah. That's probably one of the toughest brackets on here. I'm sorry.
How am I to keep my mouth shut during these things? I'm having a hard time.
Dang. And who was first again?
Sam Raimi, Wes Craven, Jordan Peele.
Sam Raimi for me, he ventured off in other areas, which is fun.
Sam Raimi's
Evil Dead.
Dead, man. Evil Dead alone, you could get by on that one. But Wes Craven is also iconic, and Jordan Peele's got a lot of potential. The bracket is not made to be easy, gentlemen. The bracket is there to confuse you.
Wes Craven's cinematic output is very uneven.
Right. I would say Wes Craven because he identified.
Again, I am not writing down your answers.
Well, yeah, no. 80s he was horror, and then the 90s.
Miguel, I need an answer.
Dude, that's too hard. All right. So I'm gonna say Jordan Peele, and this is why. For 11 years now, I've been trying to describe the category of films we show that we call horror for humanity, which is horror that talks about socio-political things. And it always for horror people, they get it. For non-horror people, they don't get it at all. But now I can say Get Out. So I don't have to have this whole diatribe about it anymore.
Okay, that makes sense.
I'll give him credit for that. But honestly, I'm evensies on all 3 there. That's hard. Yeah.
Again, the bracket is not to be messed with. It is not here to be easy for you. It is to help make you think and make difficult decisions. I will give out my my benevolent Lou Martinez idea of the week for free to anybody that's an editor on the internet, and that is somebody needs to cut up Keanu and cut it as a horror trailer.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to do make it and fake it like it's the next Jordan Peele movie.
You're talking about the Key and Peele movie with the cat.
The Key movie about the cat. Somebody needs to cut that up. All right, that's that. So somebody go out there. You're going to get 1 million hits. I'll do it if I have time, but if not,
I'm surprised someone hasn't already.
You know what? I trust the internet. If I Google that after we get off. All right, here's another tough bracket for you, Miguel.
Okay.
John Carpenter, Terrence Fisher, or Polanski.
Damn. I'm gonna go Carpenter.
All right.
I'm gonna go Carpenter. I mean, I love Terrence Fisher, but Terrence Fisher. I'm glad you pulled that one out, man. That's a deep cut, actually. You're going across the pond. Yeah, I'm gonna go John Carpenter. Just again, it's a little bit of a nostalgia thing, but John Carpenter has always. It goes back to what I was saying about purpose. All of his films had a purpose. He had something he wanted to say, and it was clear, And
I love his soundtracks.
Oh hell yeah!
Oh my God.
I still pump them.
Most of the soundtracks that he has done, I actually been inspired by, and I've done my own type of soundtrack like that.
One of my earliest memories dropping my jaw was Assault on Precinct 13.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just say the ice cream truck scene.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna go Carpenter on that.
All right, we're going Carpenter. Danny Boyle, Ari Aster, or James Wan.
Oh yeah, this one's actually a little easier for me. I'm gonna go Ari Aster.
Yeah, that was for me too. I mean, Midsommar is one of the best
Oh.
movies I've seen in the last couple of years, man.
And it's interesting because I could watch both the theatrical and the director's cut. I think they are both good for different reasons, and you don't always get that with the director's cut. In fact, a lot of times I don't like the director's cut.
Jordan Peele is kind of the guy right now that's getting that title as like, but Ari Aster is not far behind at all.
So it's really hard to shock me now, but the pole scene in Hereditary shocked me.
I love that movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Great film.
Oh,
Great film.
I like Midsommar better myself, but I do understand that.
I think it's a better film overall.
Yeah.
But I'm just talking about like a moment that actually affected me in a genuine way.
Yeah, because how can they shock you? Yeah, how can they shock you?
Yeah, and it sucks. I hate it. I want to not be jaded, so I have to like put myself in the mindset. But that one really did. That was surprising. I think Ari Aster has a lot going on there that I still haven't even scratched the surface on, and it's got replay value. I've seen Midsommar like 4 times.
Yeah, I've seen it 2 days ago.
Just since pandemic started. So yeah.
All right, next one here, and this is they're not going to get any easier for you. Okay, here. This one is going to be pretty easy. I put Pascal Laguerre just because he had done Martyrs, which is one of my favorite movies. Toby Hooper and then Romero, obviously.
Oh, Romero's
movie. That's so I figured any category that I put him in, he's going to get at least a first round bye.
You know, Romero has kind of Wes Craven syndrome a little bit, where the full output is kind of uneven, but that purpose, like Romero single-handedly changed everything we know about horror with Night of the Living Dead, and then took what the miracle of that, which would be lightning in a bottle, and made it even more important with Dawn of the Dead. So I don't know. And also Romero just as a human being, because I've had conversations with the guy, so that's kind of not fair. I'm still like, we recently passed the 3-year anniversary of his passing. Romero is very, very dear to my heart. So yeah.
Romero is one of my favorites as well.
And he's a favorite. He's the number 1 seed. He's the number 1 seed in the bracket. He's the overwhelming favorite. But we must move on. We must move on.
But Toby, come on.
I know that's really hard. Throwing Toby Hooper in there.
It's
rough, man. That's not fair. But yeah.
All right, we got Dr. Fauci's long lost cousin, Lucio Fucci. Well, no, that's the same one. Brian De Palma, Argento, or Jennifer Kent.
Argento.
That's 4. Yeah, the brackets get tougher, man.
Argento for me.
You're going Argento again?
See, I like Fulci better than Argento.
Really?
You like Fulci?
Yes, I like Fulci better than Argento, believe it or not. I think Argento is a better technical director. I like Fulci's movies better. But I'm a big Fulci fanatic, man.
Yeah.
Big Fulci fanatic. Throwing Jennifer Kent in there is a bit sneaky because I liked the Babadook, but the Nightingale fucked me up. Like, I think they're both really excellent films. There are things about the Nightingale I'm still trying to like get over. But all told, who is the third? Not
Brian De Palma.
Oh, De Palma. I love De Palma too.
De Palma's
I love De Palma. I think for pure love, I'm gonna go Lucio Fulci on that because of my history with the guy. I'm quite good friends with Fabio Frizzi, his longtime composer, and
you had him at the festival a couple of years ago.
I have had him at the festival. He did our official Horrible Imaginings theme.
Nice.
I just love Fulci. I love Fulci. I love how
this is your bracket, sir. You can put whoever you want through.
I love how depraved it is. And I love, so there's this film that's actually kind of bad, but have you seen Cat in the Brain?
No.
Okay. So
another one I wrote down.
Try to sit through The Cat in the Brain because it's late in Fulci's career, and it's a little bit rough around the edges. But what it's about is it's total autobiographical, sort of, about Fulci coming to terms with all of the crazy shit he's made. And it's like a psychological profile of himself. It's really interesting. I really like that film. But
nice.
Fulci moves on.
Fulci, yes, indeed.
Right. And then Luisa also said John Carpenter is also a very nice man. Smiley face.
Yes.
Well, John Carpenter's a curmudgeon and kind of grumpy, but he's also nice. It's funny how it works out.
Here's another killer bracket for you: Mario Bava, Cronenberg.
God damn it.
Kiyoshi Kurosawa.
Oh my God.
Oh, God.
And Richard Donner.
Kiyoshi.
You're going Kiyoshi Kurosawa, huh?
I will. Yeah.
That's those first three are very hard. Sorry, Richard Donner. You're sweet
sorry.
You're
like he's
you're
watching
gone.
this.
Man. How could you put those two together?
We got a Cronenberg situation here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
you already got one Italian through. Maybe you think of it that way.
True. But Mario Bava is like.
I didn't want to put all. I was gonna do all the Italians together, but then I was like, let me spread them out a little bit.
You. That was smart. Because Mario. Oh man, this is really hard. I think I appreciate Bava more, but I love Cronenberg's films more.
Really?
Yeah. Because his films, especially his body horror stuff.
Yeah.
So I saw The Fly in the theater with my mom. All right. That was 1986. So I was 8 years old. When we go back to how old should you be when you watch
The Fly?
Yeah, and I saw that before. I saw it. We went and saw the original later, the 1957 version with Vincent Price. But so the thing that I'll always remember about the experience of seeing in the theater are like the vomiting on the donuts. And the teeth. I've always had a thing with teeth. You know how everybody has their thing? Mm-hmm. Like anything with teeth, like that scene in Old Boy with the hammer.
Oh, my God.
There's that scene.
Talk about a movie they shouldn't have remade.
Oh, I still haven't seen the remake of Old Boy. So I can't say one way or the other. But yeah, probably you're right.
I love Spike, but it was just unnecessary.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, it's going to pain me to go Cronenberg, but I'm going to go Cronenberg.
Cronenberg moves on. All right. And then in the last first-round matchup, we have... I threw this guy in. You know who's left. Don't. This is another... all right, we got Mr. Alfredo Hitchcock. Mm-hmm. We got Kubrick, even though, basically won. Clive Barker. And then I threw Eli Roth in there just so we can
easy
make fun of him.
Yeah.
Eli moves. Let's just skip that. Okay.
So yeah, that's worse than Richard Donner going against Mario Bava. But, man, between Hitchcock and Kubrick, that's kind of cruel too.
Yeah, it's like a one.
That's I like Hitchcock's films better, but I think Kubrick is a better craftsman. Who is third?
Barker, Clive.
Oh, Clive Barker. Oh,
yeah.
Man, I love what Clive Barker has done, but like again, he's got the Wes Craven thing where like it's kind of uneven. I like Clive Barker's concepts a lot. Damn.
I can't do too many seconds of that sound or else.
I'm gonna go Hitchcock, I think.
Where are you at on that one, Kurt?
I'm gonna go Hitchcock.
All right, good. Yeah. Again, I'm not writing it down, but I just wanted to ask you. All right,
I'm going to suggest something real quick.
Go ahead.
If you can find Alfred Hitchcock's interview with Dick Cavett when Frenzy came out.
Frenzy's badass.
Yeah, but the interview was hysterical. It's amazing. You should. Yes, it's really funny. Hitchcock, Hitchcock was really funny.
All right. Now we move on to the speed round on these. So I'm going to give you the people that moved on, and then we're going to knock this out. All right. And for all that, Lucio Fulci that had to go against Brian De Palma, his prize is he goes up against Romero in the next round.
Oh, come on. Yeah, Romero.
Yeah, right. Romero moves on. And then Cronenberg versus Hitchcock.
Ooh. Yeah, Hitchcock.
Hitchcock. All right. And on the other side, John Carpenter versus Jordan Peele.
John Carpenter.
All right. And then
Jordan Peele would agree with me on that too. So
yeah, absolutely. He's got 2 movies under his belt.
Yeah.
And then Takashi versus Ari Aster.
Takashi.
Oof. Man. All right. I'm going to give it to Takashi Miike because
of Audition.
Because of 2 films. Because of Audition.
Because of Audition.
And Audition is just a masterpiece.
Yes.
But a movie that a lot of people can't stand and I adore is Visitor Q. And
I love that film, by the way.
I'm going to throw Visitor Q out as another reason to choose. I mean, the things that he gets away with with Visitor Q, shot on video. I mean, it's just a fantastic film. I love it so much. Yeah,
right.
Miike.
I mean, for me, it's Audition and Itchy.
Itchy's pretty badass.
Yep, great. There's no. I like Happiness of the Katakuris as well. Yeah.
And now we're in the semifinals. George Romero versus Hitchcock.
Romero. I'm going Romero.
And then Carpenter versus Takashi.
Carpenter. For me.
Yeah, Carpenter for me as well.
And then JC versus Romero.
Damn.
Romero. For me.
That is some even matching if I ever heard it.
I know, right?
Yeah, man.
You know, it's like that is so hard.
That's what she said.
Sorry.
That's my line.
I think that's your. Is that your second one, or was the other?
That was the second one. That was the second. Sorry.
Oh, we're gonna be here all night.
Oh, this is he's going into the tank. If this was the World Series of Poker,
every time I think like, oh man, but what about They Live? Then my other brain is like, but what about Martin? You know, there are such brilliant movies, and if I want to think about something like completely off the wall, like what about Memoirs of an Invisible Man? I can think, what about Night Riders? I think that Carpenter's early to mid career was better than Romero's, but in the late stages of their career, Romero had Land of the Dead, which was better than any of Carpenter's late stages of his career. But I mean, that's not to say that Romero didn't have, like, Survival was pretty terrible, but I actually like Diary of the Dead.
Yeah, me too.
Shit, that's hard.
I'm gonna go over Romero.
I'm gonna go Romero because Carpenter's still alive.
That's what I predicted. And Romero,
that's weak.
He was the favorite going in. He's the favorite going out. Winner of the bracket. And Miguel, the one thing I want to tell you is that seeing you debate and sort of agonize over those choices gave us an inside look of probably what it's like when you're agonizing over film. And I think, like I said, the thing that makes you stand out against other festivals, I believe, is the amount that you care about it and how much of yourself is into it. So I want to say that I appreciate you for the work that you do. And I hope that everybody goes out and gets a pass and at least sees a couple of movies. We talked about a bunch of them. Make sure that you guys go to hifilmfest.com or look for Horrible Imaginings on Facebook or anywhere else, and you'll be able to get links to it.
Yep.
So thank you very much for coming on, man.
See one thing for $8, or you can get a 10-pack for $35. See 10 things for $35, or just go all out for $50, and that'll get you into everything. And even if you just get the $8 to see one thing, that still lets you see like the participate in the Q&A discussion. So there are lots of ways to experience it. So yeah, hopefully you'll find one that works for you.
My brother, and Kak, thank you very much for coming on as well, brother.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you.
All right, everybody go watch the film festival. This has been another Fireside Chat with Big Chief Burrito. Again, Miguel, thank you very much for coming on, and good luck with the festival this year. We will be online watching.
Rad, thank you so much. And we're 3 hours away from a burrito. So talk to you later.
Later, Miguel. Have a good night.
Bye.
All right, people. Big Chief Burrito out. All right. Give me a second. Let me hit this. Let me hit this banner for them. Let them know. Is this it?
That's it.
Oh, no, that's not it. There it is.